Hey, what's up everybody? Kim Klasick here. So I am going to try my best to remain calm, but as you guys know, I care a lot about Baltimore City, and of course, the children living in Baltimore that really have no hope for a great future because of the quality of life, those in control, the school system, and basically so many parents being like, you know what? I don't really care. And if they do, their actions show otherwise. But just so you know, our mayor, Brandon Scott, decided to write an op-ed in the Baltimore Sun. Now, just so you know, the Baltimore Sun is the paper that dogged me my entire campaign. Basically, they uplifted my opponent, Kwesi Mfume, who actually had to step down from the NAACP when he was the president because of sexual harassment allegations. He was dating basically those that were staff members, even though he wasn't supposed to. He then had to pay a young lady, I think the NAACP ended up paying it for him, over $100,000 to basically just go away. So these things are all true, right? And then, of course, he did a terrible job as a congressman in this very district many years ago in the 80s and 90s. Now, this is a guy that the Baltimore Sun decided to applaud and say, oh, he's a great fit. And that's only because he's a Democrat. He's not a great fit. Nobody even knows where he is right now. He hasn't done a single thing. The Capitol, obviously, you can see that's a full-on shit show. Baltimore City is completely on fire, and he's, I guess, somewhere in his basement. I don't know. And so it's funny because Baltimore Sun, prior, I guess that was just 2 days ago, put out an op-ed for Kwesi Mfume talking about how he's breaking a record for, being this congressman that has come back and, I guess nobody has ever come back or made a comeback to Congress in such a long period of time as he did. So he left back in the 90s, and now he's back and came back in 2020, and they said that was such a long jump and span that gives him some kind of record. Yeah, that's the Baltimore Sun. So the Baltimore Sun writes or allows Brandon Scott, our mayor, to write this op-ed about absolutely nothing. The title of it is Building a Safer Baltimore for Our Children. So basically, he talks about the fact that he witnessed his first shooting before his 10th birthday. So Brandon Scott grew up in Baltimore. So he has known that Baltimore has been on a downward spiral since he was a kid, right? He gets into city council in 2011. He was then named the chair of the violence committee in 2014. Did absolutely nothing. Became the city council president. And then became the mayor, which he is now, and still has done absolutely nothing. But here's what's so crazy about it. He's like in complete denial on what's even going on in the city and how the violence even exists, right? Here's what he writes. Some believe Baltimore's violence stems solely from gangs and drug trafficking, but many of these incidents actually result from domestic violence and petty beef. So this is a guy that always talks about following the science when it comes to COVID, right? Does he not follow the data? It is absolutely because of drug trafficking and gang violence that Baltimore City is underwater right now as far as crime, homicide, and shooting rate. He writes that in this op-ed. He really believes that the violence is basically because of domestic violence and petty beefs. It has nothing to do with gangs. Meanwhile, if you go to Baltimore City Police Facebook page, they'll show you how they're now taking down people that are in gangs and that are part of the open air drug market. That's mostly what they're actually posting about because that's what's happening. So he writes that. Then he goes on to say he has a plan that will reduce fatal and non-fatal shootings by 15% annually. 15. 1-5. Meaning you're still going to get killed. Yes, exactly. 15%. That gives us absolutely nothing. He goes on and says, this is going to take a group effort, the nonprofits, all the local leaders, the residents. People have been saying that in Baltimore for over 20 years. It never seems to cure anything. There are a lot of nonprofits in Baltimore. They're getting a ton of money. Remember, I have a nonprofit, Workforce Development, Potential Me, that I was operating in West Baltimore. And I realized, wow, why isn't anything getting done? Because everyone's sitting there taking basically grant money and doing whatever with it. Not all of the nonprofits, but a good majority of them. And then they have these award ceremonies where they pat each other on the back and say, good job, but the city is still in flames. you can pat yourself on the back and say good job if you want to, but at the end of the day, the numbers show us that you're not doing a good job. There's like this elite circle of people in Baltimore, and they're black. They're black, mind you. This isn't like, a racism thing. They're not white. They're black people that are bougie, that are elite, and basically they're taking in all the grant money. They're taking in, the contractors, they're contractors to the government. They're working with the city school system. They're administrators, what have you, or they are actual elected officials or, part of their office and staff. Those are the people that are doing just fine. Everyone else is screaming bloody murder. But because that group of people is doing just fine, these individuals like Mayor Brandon Scott continue to get back in office. Because that group of people that's doing just fine, they're the ones that get out there and vote. They're the ones that push people to vote. Those that are on the outskirts of it, literally screaming bloody murder, they act like their vote doesn't matter, so they just don't go vote at all. And so people say, well, why does Baltimore keep electing these people? That's why. That's why. In a nutshell, that's why. So Brandon Scott basically wrote a whole op-ed to tell us absolutely nothing. He's basically saying, I'm not going to do very much. This plan will get down 15%. We might get it down 5%. And then we'll still pat each other on the back, and we'll all give each other those awards and trophies, and we'll act like we did a darn good job. As they've taken millions from the federal government to fix these issues. Now, mind you, the last op-ed I sent to the Baltimore Sun, they refused to post it because it called out Mayor Brandon Scott, Congressman Kwesi Mfume, and the terrible state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby. They refused to post it. But they will post this op-ed from the mayor about absolutely nothing. Baltimore.